Ben watched the third customer with growing alarm. $500 cash for coffee, no change requested, immediate departure. 16 years of financial crimes enforcement had taught him to recognize these patterns. This is structured transaction, he said to himself, and they're using my shop. Before we dive into this incredible story, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today, and if this story moves you, make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I have something very special planned for you. The Daily Grind Coffee House occupied a corner location in downtown Portland's business district, its exposed brick walls and reclaimed wood furnishings creating the kind of authentic atmosphere that attracted both loyal neighborhood regulars and passing professionals who needed quality coffee during busy workdays. At 11:30 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, the shop maintained the energetic buzz of mid-morning customers grabbing their second coffee of the day. Ben Harrison had been operating the coffee shop for 3 years, ever since he'd moved to Oregon seeking a complete change from the high-pressure federal career that had consumed most of his adult life. At 42, he'd discovered unexpected satisfaction in creating the kind of community gathering place where people could start their days with excellent coffee, fresh pastries, and the kind of personal service that made regular customers feel like extended family. The business had grown steadily. Through word-of-mouth recommendations and Ben's systematic approach to quality control, his coffee sourcing was meticulous, his barista training was thorough, and his financial management reflected the kind of attention to detail that ensured sustainable profitability while maintaining the community-focused atmosphere that customers valued. Ben approached every aspect of business operations with analytical precision that most customers attributed to good entrepreneurial instincts and natural business acumen. His inventory management was efficient, his customer service was professional, and his ability to read market trends and customer preferences had helped establish the Daily Grind as one of Portland's most successful independent coffee shops. What customers didn't realize was that Ben's approach to business management had been shaped by 16 years as a Treasury Department financial crimes investigator specializing in money laundering operations. His systematic attention to cash flow patterns, transaction documentation, and customer behavioral analysis, skills developed during years of investigating sophisticated financial crimes, remained sharp despite the quieter rhythm of his current life. Those abilities had been forged in the pressure of cases that ranged from small-scale fraud to international money laundering operations worth hundreds of millions of dollars. His federal background had involved tracking money through complex networks of legitimate businesses, shell companies, and international transfers designed to obscure the criminal origins of funds generated through drug trafficking, human trafficking, terrorism financing, and organized crime activities. That he had spent long nights in war rooms filled with financial analysts, following the trail of money as it passed through banks, casinos, import-export firms, and even mom-and-pop shops that criminals quietly transformed into laundering hubs. Understanding how criminals used ordinary businesses as fronts for money laundering had been central to his investigative work, and it was knowledge that had never left him. Now, behind the counter of a small neighborhood cafe, Ben found himself in a very different environment. But the instincts were the same. That he was restocking pastry displays when something caught his attention and activated instincts he thought had been dormant for years. A well-dressed businessman stepped inside, carrying himself with the confidence of someone used to being in control. He ordered nothing more than a single cup of coffee, a purchase that should have been unremarkable, except that he paid with a $500 bill. The detail itself was suspicious enough. Such bills were not standard currency for daily transactions, and their appearance in retail environments almost always hinted at either counterfeit circulation or laundering techniques. The man declined change, accepted no receipt, and left almost immediately without tasting the coffee or engaging in any of the ordinary customer behaviors that gave context to such a purchase. He walked out as quickly as he came in, leaving behind not just the untouched drink but also a trail of questions. For anyone else, it might have been a forgettable oddity. For Ben, however, it was a pattern, a small signal that echoed the anomalies he had spent years learning to detect in the flow of legitimate and illegitimate transactions, and patterns, he knew, were rarely accidental. The transaction itself wasn't illegal, but Ben's 16 years of Treasury training had taught him to recognize patterns that suggested structured financial activities designed to convert large amounts of cash into seemingly legitimate business transactions. The customer's behavior: quick entry, large cash payment disproportionate to purchase, immediate departure matched textbook money laundering techniques. 20 minutes later, a similar transaction occurred. A different customer, same pattern. Expensive coffee purchase with disproportionately large cash payment, no change requested, no receipt, immediate departure. Ben's financial crimes background immediately recognized this as potential systematic money laundering, using his coffee shop as an unwitting front operation. Ben began observing customer patterns more carefully, applying the analytical skills that had made him valuable to federal investigations. The suspicious transactions weren't random, they occurred at regular intervals, involved different individuals who showed no interest in actual coffee consumption and followed procedures that suggested coordination and planning rather than coincidental behavior. By closing time, Ben had documented 7 similar transactions totaling over $3,000 in cash payments for coffee purchases worth less than $50. His cash register contained far more money than his legitimate sales could account for, and he was beginning to understand that his coffee shop had been selected as a money laundering operation without his knowledge or consent. Ben's analysis of the transaction patterns revealed sophisticated money laundering techniques that required professional criminal organization rather than amateur illegal activity. The timing was systematic, the amounts were structured to avoid federal reporting requirements, and the coordination suggested multiple participants working under central direction. His Treasury Department experience had taught him to recognize the specific methods that criminal organizations use to transform illegal cash into apparently legitimate business revenue. Coffee shops were particularly attractive for money laundering because they typically handled significant cash transactions, maintained irregular customer patterns, and operated in ways that made unusual cash flow less suspicious than other business types. The individuals conducting these transactions showed behavioral patterns that Ben recognized from federal training. Professional demeanor, minimal interaction with staff, systematic approach to purchasing, and obvious disinterest in the actual products being purchased. These weren't customers, they were money launderers using his business as a cleaning operation. Ben realized he was facing a situation that required immediate federal notification. Money laundering operations fell under specific Treasury Department jurisdiction, and business owners who discovered such activities had legal obligations to report them to appropriate authorities. His 16 years of investigating these crimes had taught him the proper protocols for handling discoveries that could compromise ongoing criminal enterprises. This is Benjamin Harrison, former Treasury Agent number 4738, retired 2018, he said when connected to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network hotline. I have active money laundering operations being conducted through my Portland coffee shop. The response was immediate and serious. FinCEN maintained protocols for handling reports from former federal agents who might encounter financial crimes during civilian careers, and Ben's credentials provided immediate credibility for his assessment of the situation. Treasury Special Agent Sarah Kim responded to Ben's notification within hours, recognizing the significance of his discovery and the expertise he could provide for understanding the operation's scope and methods. Money laundering investigations required careful coordination. To avoid alerting criminal organizations while gathering evidence that could support prosecutions. Ben, your background makes you uniquely qualified to help us understand this operation, Agent Kim explained during their secure briefing. We need someone with your expertise who has legitimate access to the transaction patterns and customer behaviors. Working with federal investigators, Ben helped analyze the money laundering operation that had been using his coffee shop without his knowledge. His Treasury background enabled him to recognize patterns that typical business owners might miss, while his position as shop owner provided cover for gathering intelligence without alerting the criminal organization. The investigation revealed that Ben's coffee shop was one of approximately 12 businesses in Portland being used for systematic money laundering by a criminal organization that generated illegal revenue through drug trafficking, human trafficking, and other criminal activities. The sophistication of the operation suggested professional money laundering services rather than amateur criminal activity. They're moving approximately $50,000 per week through your location alone, Agent Kim told Ben during their case briefing. Across all their locations, we're looking at several $1 million in laundered funds annually. Ben's expertise proved crucial for understanding how the money laundering operation functioned while avoiding detection by business owners and law enforcement. His knowledge of Treasury investigation techniques helped federal agents develop surveillance and evidence collection strategies that could expose the complete network. Ben found himself in the unusual position of operating his coffee shop while simultaneously serving as an undercover federal asset gathering intelligence about money laundering activities. His legitimate business provided perfect cover for documenting criminal transactions while his Treasury background enabled him to recognize evidence that untrained observers might miss. Your cooperation is essential for mapping this network, Agent Kim explained. We need someone who can identify the participants, document the methods, and help us understand the organizational structure without compromising the investigation. The undercover phase required Ben to maintain normal business operations while carefully documenting the money laundering transactions that continued occurring throughout each day. His federal training enabled him to gather intelligence without altering his behavior in ways that might alert the criminal organization to law enforcement interest. Ben's analysis revealed that the money laundering operation was more sophisticated than initially suspected. The criminal organization had systematically identified businesses with characteristics that made them suitable for money laundering, established relationships with employees or associates who could facilitate transactions, and implemented procedures that minimized exposure while maximizing the volume of cash that could be processed. They've essentially turned legitimate small businesses into unwitting money laundering operations, Ben reported to the investigation team. The business owners have no idea their establishments are being used for financial crimes. His Treasury expertise proved invaluable for understanding the complete scope of the operation and developing strategies for gathering evidence that could support federal prosecutions while protecting innocent business owners who had been unknowingly involved in criminal activities. The federal investigation culminated with coordinated raids across 12 Portland businesses that had been identified as money laundering locations. Ben's intelligence gathering had provided crucial evidence for obtaining federal warrants and understanding the organizational structure that enabled such systematic financial crimes. Outstanding work, Agent Kim told Ben as the arrests unfolded. Your expertise enabled us to understand this operation in ways that would have been impossible without someone who recognized the patterns and could interpret their significance. The raids resulted in the arrest of 15 individuals involved in the money laundering network, the seizure of over $2 million in cash and assets, and the disruption of criminal financing that had been supporting drug trafficking, human trafficking, and other serious crimes throughout the Pacific Northwest. Ben's coffee shop was cleared of any criminal involvement, and his cooperation with federal authorities was recognized as essential for protecting both his business and other establishments that had been unknowingly used for money laundering. The investigation demonstrated how criminal organizations exploited legitimate businesses while keeping owners unaware of illegal activities. Your recognition of the money laundering patterns probably prevented your business from becoming more deeply involved, Agent Kim explained during the case closure briefing. Without early identification, these operations typically expand until business owners become unwilling participants or potential targets for criminal organization pressure. The case received regional attention as an example of how former federal expertise could protect communities from sophisticated financial crimes. Ben declined most interview requests, preferring to focus on returning his coffee shop to normal operations while maintaining awareness of financial crime indicators. Ben returned to normal coffee shop operations with new appreciation for how his federal background continued to serve public safety in unexpected ways. His business had been protected from deeper criminal involvement through early recognition of money laundering activities that could have eventually threatened his family's safety and financial security. 6 months later, Ben had consulted with 3 other small business owners who suspected their establishments might be used for money laundering, helped train business association members in recognizing financial crime indicators, and had become an informal resource for small business protection against criminal exploitation. People think running a coffee shop is just about making good coffee, Ben explained to a small business conference, but we're also guardians of our community's economic integrity, and sometimes we're the first line of defense against financial crimes that fund much more serious criminal activities. His coffee shop had become a model for financial crime awareness among small businesses, demonstrating how proper transaction documentation and behavioral observation could protect legitimate enterprises from criminal exploitation while supporting law enforcement efforts to disrupt organized crime financing. 1 year after the money laundering case, Ben had helped identify 2 additional criminal schemes that attempted to use small Portland businesses for financial crimes. His Treasury expertise, combined with his legitimate access to business operations, made him valuable for protecting the small business community from sophisticated criminal organizations. His phone buzzed with a secure message from Agent Kim. New money laundering pattern identified in Seattle, similar methods to your Portland case, available for consultation on business vulnerability assessment. Ben looked around his coffee shop, then at the community he served and protected through both excellent coffee and vigilant financial crime awareness. I'll review the intelligence after closing, he texted back. Some careers never really end, they just find new applications and new ways to serve the public good. Benjamin Harrison, former Treasury Department financial crimes investigator and current guardian of small business integrity and community economic security, continued his work one coffee at a time, one protected business at a time. For him, every ledger, every receipt, every transfer was more than just a line of numbers. It was a story waiting to be read. That he proved that the most important financial investigations often begin when someone knows how to recognize criminal transactions hiding among Legitimate commerce. Sometimes the most crucial money laundering cases are discovered not in grand international operations, but during routine business activities when a local shop's accounts don't add up or when deposits arrive in suspiciously structured amounts. Benjamin understood that criminal organizations rarely leave perfectly clean footprints. Instead, they create subtle patterns, anomalies that appear harmless to the untrained eye but glow like warning signals to someone who knows what to look for. He often reminded business owners that safeguarding their records wasn't just about protecting themselves, it was about protecting their communities. Every fraudulent transaction caught early meant fewer resources flowing into networks that fueled corruption, drugs, or organized crime. Each conversation over a cup of coffee with a shopkeeper wasn't just small talk. It was a frontline defense against financial manipulation. In this way, Benjamin's career had never really shifted, it had simply evolved. What once involved high-level investigations and federal task forces now lived in the daily rhythms of neighborhood banks, corner cafes, and family-run stores, yet the mission remained the same: protecting the flow of honest commerce, ensuring that integrity not exploitation was the foundation of local economies. Have you ever noticed financial patterns at businesses that seemed unusual or suspicious? Share your observations in the comments below, and tell us what city you're watching from today. If this story of hidden financial expertise and community protection inspired you, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Don't miss the compelling stories appearing on your screen right now. Click to discover more tales of everyday heroes with extraordinary knowledge who protect their communities in unexpected ways. Because sometimes the most important financial investigations begin with someone who knows how to recognize when normal business transactions aren't normal at all.
See you in the next videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe.